Alrighty, welcome everybody. We've started our virtual Israel trip webinar. We're going to let all of our participants join in to the webinar room. Before we get started, we want to welcome everybody this evening. Very, very happy to have so many people joining us in the evening for what I know will be a very unique, great program. As you can see, we have our friends in Israel coming to us live. It's bright and early over there, so we appreciate them waking up and being with us. We will get started. I'll get started with my introduction in just a moment or two. Once again, we want to welcome everybody. I know it takes a second for everybody to get into the webinar chat, the webinar room. We'll get started in just a minute. So once again, welcome everybody. My name is Dan Gold. I'm with the Jewish Federation here in Los Angeles, and I want to welcome you to our virtual Israel trip webinar. This is our 5th session of our spring 2021 virtual Israel trip. We're so excited that you are joining us this evening. Hopefully, many of you who are with us have your wines in front of you. You're able to order them and have your wines in front of you and a big empty glass ready to have a relaxing evening together. Before we get started, I want to quickly thank our travel partners here in LA, World Express Travel, and of course in Israel, IGT Tour Company. They have helped ensure each of our virtual programs is authentic and incredible as possible. And we're hoping very soon to start planning real trips again with them. I especially want to thank Ezra Corman from IGT, who takes such good care of us. And of course, today woke up so early to make sure that the program got off without a hitch. And I want to thank Roei Itzhaki, founder and CEO of Tulip Wines, and David Bar Ilan, who you can also see with us, the winemaker at Tulip Wines, who are with us so early over in Israel. Now, once again, the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles identifies and addresses the greatest challenges, needs, and opportunities facing our community, both locally and globally. The COVID-19 pandemic brought us waves of new challenges and critical needs. And in response, we pivoted quickly, dramatically expanded our work, responding to our already and newly at-risk vulnerable populations in Israel and Los Angeles. We amended our program plan quickly so that we could respond in the most strategic manner possible, working intensively with our network of partners. Throughout 2020, we worked to keep our community involved in Jewish life. We offered extensive virtual programs for young adults and families with young children, and of course, created virtual Israel trip experiences like our program today to keep our community connected to our homeland. In fact, today's program is among a series of virtual Israel trip programs this spring that follow a whole lineup of incredible tours and conversations from this past summer. The recordings of all of our programs, as well as registration for upcoming programs, can be found on our website at jewishla.org/virtual-Israel. We'll put that link in the chat. And specifically, I want to call your attention to our upcoming programs, including an incredible Jeep and drone tour of Israel's northern border this Thursday morning. Finally, today's program is once again exploring and virtually traveling throughout Israel with the lens of Israeli culture and Jewish traditions. And we are thrilled to be doing so with such an incredible winery. Tulip Wines has a very important mission, which is aligned with the work of our federation, which is to promote inclusion for people, young and old, of all abilities. Our federation has been working for many years to create a Jewish community here and in Israel that does more to include, accept, and build awareness about people with all abilities. And that is why we are so excited to run this program tonight with our friends at Tulip Winery. In just a moment, we'll turn it over to Roei and David, who of course are live in Israel. But first, I'm going to play a short clip with a special guest some of you sports fans here in the United States will recognize, to help give some background on this wonderful place. Before I do so, just a reminder, you can utilize the Q&A box to ask any questions, and we'll have time for the audience to ask questions throughout the program. One moment, I will start our video.
Israel is a very special place for me. I've become intimately familiar with the people and its culture. Everyone here knows me as Amari, the basketball player, but I have many other passions. One of them is wine. It's my passion that brought me here to this special place, Tulip Winery. Tulip is the first winery of its kind in the world. It is located in Kfar Tikva, a community for individuals with cognitive developmental disabilities. Tulip's founders wanted to make a high-quality wine, but they also wanted to create a better society. So they established a winery that employs people with special needs from the community.
The concept is to give them the opportunity to live normal life like everybody else and to be a part of the wine industry.
The wine that they are making is selling worldwide, in Japan, in Russia, in Taiwan, in California. They feel satisfaction of what they are doing, and that's worth everything for us.
שכל העיינות שאתם רואים ושאתם קונים, זה אני מייצר פה, עם החבר'ה.
Our most aged wine will be the Black Tulip. This is our flagship wine, which won a lot of awards around the world.
The label was drawn by a guy who has Down syndrome. His name is David Ashkenazi. We got thousands of drawings from thousands of children with disabilities. We chose this drawing because it's optimistic. And we call this competition Don't Label Me, because we believe you can label wines, but you cannot label people. And this is how we work in the winery every day, and this is why we employ people with disabilities.
I'm pretty excited to be here. I just wanted to meet the people who make this miracle happen. I can't wait to taste your wine in America. Let's see if I can make this happen.
So once again, I want to thank you all for joining us. Whoops, let me pause my video. I want to thank you all for joining us. Please utilize the chat box. We're going to be tasting 3 different wines this evening, or early in the morning for those in Israel. After each wine, we'll be doing Q&A. So please feel free to use the Q&A chat box and ask questions. We are recording this session, so you'll be able to share it and watch it afterwards. And if you haven't bought your wines yet, don't worry, you can still order your wines, watch this video again, and do it along with the wines in front of you. So with that, I want to make sure we have our friends in Israel with us. I'm having a slight technical delay. Just a moment while we reconnect. This is the beauty of technology from far away. Appreciate your patience. Once again, appreciate your patience. We're just connecting once again with Israel. Once again, appreciate your patience. We're reconnecting. While we're reconnecting, I want to point to the chat box where you can see all of the links that we shared, including the link where you can buy all the wines. We have links to read about Tulip Winery and their social mission as well. Also, you have the link to all of our programs upcoming, the jewishla.org/virtual-Israel, where you can register for upcoming sessions as well as view previous sessions. We'll continue to put them in the chat box. And I know that our friends in Israel are reconnecting, and I appreciate the moment of patience as we get reset up here. Okay, we have them reconnecting. Once again, I think we have our friends Roe and David live from Israel. I appreciate everybody's patience while we reconnected. Roe and David, take it away.
Good morning. Good morning, Israel. Thank you for joining us. Sorry for the disconnecting for a few minutes. Since you're in the winery digital, I'll tell you a bit about us. I established Tulip Winery like 18 years ago. As you saw in the video, Tulip Winery located in a very, very special and unique place in Israel. A place called Village of Hope. In Hebrew, it's Kfar Tikva. It's established as a kibbutz. Probably all of you know what is a kibbutz in Israel. Anyhow, the kibbutz, the population of the kibbutz was people from South America, Jewish people from Brazil and Argentina. The government put them on this hill, and they told them, all right, this is your kibbutz. From now on, you can earn your money and build your kibbutz. But unfortunately, the kibbutz collapsed economic-wise and abandoned in the beginning of the 60s. In 1964, came the abandoned kibbutz, a German Jewish guy, Dr. Siegfried Hirsch. And Dr. Hirsch had a daughter with special needs. Those days, if any family had a kid or adult with special needs, they put him in, closed institutions with big fans for the rest of his life. And Dr. Hirsch decided that he wanted to do it differently. So he bought the abandoned kibbutz from the government and created the first village or community for people with special needs. So since 1964 till now, it looks like a kibbutz, it works like a kibbutz, but all the 250 citizens are people with mentally disabilities, mentally challenges. So this is about the Village of Hope, how it's connecting to us. Almost 18 years ago, in June, we are going to celebrate 18 years. 18 years ago, I decided that I want to do my own business and I want to produce wine since I was growing in a wine lover family. Since I was very, very little guy, the whole family really like wines and we travel all over the world and to visit wineries. So till the age of 14, 15, you don't like it so much. But in the age of 15, it changed, and your friends, their parents don't allow them to drink and to taste wines, and my parents pushed me to taste wines. So it was obvious for me when I was 25 years old to do my first business, which is to produce wine. So when I decided that I want to open my business of winemaking, actually I took a piece of paper. I called it business plan. Of course, nothing connecting to business plan, but I called it business plan. And the first goal was quality. It sounds quite cliche, but everything that influenced the quality of the wine, we invested at the top, meaning from the vineyard through the equipment and of course, knowledge, like my friend David. Everything that influenced the quality of the wine, we're investing the top. We want to produce the best wines from the Holy Land, from Israel. The second goal was quite unique since, the wine industry is very, very old industry, 6,000, 7,000 years. And it's very conservative business also, because the process is more or less the same. You're taking the grapes, you crush it, ferment it, and then you have wine. But I decided to be the bad guy or something like that. But the second goal was to produce wines that not only mainstream wines, also meaning wines that it's out of the box wines, unique wines, one of a kind wines. So some of our wines on the portfolio, it's the only one in the world. The first white wine, it was the first wine that we did out of the box. The third goal was also quite unique, to do something good for the community, to do something good for the world. Actually, to be honest, when I wrote it to myself, I didn't know what I'm going to do with that. But after a few weeks, suddenly I got the idea in my mind, maybe to open the winery in the Village of Hope, in order to give the people from the village the opportunity, first to have a job, second to be a part in the wine industry. So I came to the CEO of the village, and I was quite scared. I was 25, he was like 50, 55. I told him, all right, Moshe, probably you're going to throw me away from your office, but I have an idea to open a winery, boutique winery, specialize in quality wines, and I think to do it here in the village in order to give them jobs. It was like 10 seconds of silence in the room, and then he told me, stand up, young guy. So I stood up, and he gave me, it was a very emotional moment. He told me, it's the most amazing idea I ever heard. Please, what do you need from me? I told him, nothing, just give me a small room that I can build my own winery. So in 2003, June, that was the first day of the winery. Me in a very, very small room, like 500 square feet, with 3 people from the village, from the village with special needs. And from now and on, the growth of Tulip Winery was very fast, up to 350,000 bottles a year. It's a little bit more than 25,000 cases. We're selling in Israel, we're selling in 13 different countries around the globe. And the most important, we're employing now 45 people with special needs. And we give them, it's not only a job, it's actually, it's a reason to wake up in the morning. It gives us a better reason to wake up in the morning, not only wine and money. And somehow, maybe God loves us. We become one of the leading wineries in Israel, and well known here, well known in many countries around the globe. Danny.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I suggest if we can, we'll get started on the wines, and as the questions come in, we'll ask.
Feel free to ask us. David Bar-Ilan, the winemaker, he will do the tasting and explain about the vineyards. And if you have any questions, of course, we're here to answer.
All right, so I'll present the wines. I know you have 3 wines to taste today. Hi, I'm David, and thank you for waking me up so early in the morning. We'll start the tasting with our white tulip. White tulip, I don't know if you have, which vintage you have on your table. We will be tasting today the 2020 vintage. It's a white wine made of 2 white, very known varieties, Gewürztraminer and Sauvignon Blanc. We changed the design a little bit in the last vintage, so maybe you have, your bottle looks different, but it's more or less the same wine, just different vintage. So it's Gewürztraminer and Sauvignon Blanc coming from the Upper Galilee, mainly Gewürztraminer, about 70% Gewürztraminer and 30% Sauvignon Blanc. The wine is dry, but very fruity and floral. You have a lot of tropical taste and aromas, some lychee and passion fruit, and some grapefruit probably. Very acidic, a light-bodied wine that will accompany well a wide of light dishes. All right, it's not a meat wine, but it can accompany quite well some fish and stuff like that. Let's taste.
this wine? And she says, yes.
Yes, my wife, this wine, not the 2020 vintage, but the what
2007.
2007 vintage, which was the first one, wasn't it? Well, I wasn't the winemaker here back then, but yeah, that's what I done. I love this wine from the first vintage. Tulip Winery launched it, and I think it was one of the best or most interesting white wines that we have in Israel. I think this unique combination of Gewürztraminer and Sauvignon Blanc rose a lot of questions at the beginning of the way, because it's quite a unique combination. As you said, we want to make unique wines here, and this was the first unique, as you said. As you probably know, Gewürztraminer coming from Germany and Sauvignon Blanc coming from France, and usually when you mix Germans and French, you get world war, but here we got a world leader. So that's the white tulip. As I said, on the nose, you can have grapefruit, passion fruit, some lychee coming from the Gewürztraminer, and grapefruit coming from Sauvignon Blanc. In a lot of very acidic and light-bodied. It's not a meat wine, as I said before. Can go really well alone, not only with food. And that's the wine. If you have any questions about this wine, so I think this is time, or you want to make the tasting.
So we have a quick question. We have a quick question. If you use any varietals unique to Israel in making these wines.
It's a big question. We don't have indigenous varieties here in Israel, not yet, and not. What we do have is some table grapes that were left in the last few hundred years. As you probably know, the Ottoman regime here from the late 16th century until the early 20th century didn't allow any wine production, and they ripped out all of the vines that were wine vines. All right, what they left are table grapes that the local population here used to make some wines out of them, but they are very low quality wines. It's like buying grapes in the supermarket and make wine out of them, which you can. I don't think this is the quality that we're looking for, but there are people here in Israel that are working on finding the indigenous varieties, and I hope that one day we'll be able to produce wines from indigenous varieties.
Great, thank you. And I know that it's quite complicated to ensure that a wine is kosher, and I know that you guys have your own kind of story of how you ensured that this wine stay kosher. So Roy, I'm curious, and David, if you're part of it, I'm curious if you can share that story.
Actually, when I started winery first in 2003, it wasn't kosher. But since the business plan was fastest, the results of the business plan was fastest than the expectations. In 2006, in Israel, as you know, you have very low ceiling if you sell wine that it's not kosher, right? You cannot sell it, of course, to religious people. You cannot sell it in hotels in Israel, supermarkets, and stuff like that. So I decided to become kosher in 2006. So I called to the Rabbanut, the institution of rabbis. I told them, all right, I want to become kosher. They told me, no problem, we'll send you the rabbi, and he will explain you what you need to do. I did my homework before the meeting with the rabbi, and I realized that we need in a row 3 things to become kosher. First, the vineyards needs to be kosher, which is not problem in Israel. 99.9% it's kosher. the second thing, that the ingredients that we use to produce the wine, like yeast, like SO2, needs to be kosher. Also, it's not a problem because the big wineries in Israel, almost every product that we use, an ingredient that we use in the process is kosher. And the third point to become kosher is all the workers in the manufacturing area needs to be religious people, which I'm not religious, and also some of my workers they're not religious. So the rabbi came to the meeting, and I asked him, okay, I want to become kosher. What do we need to do? I know that I need first the vineyard. We don't have any problem. The ingredients also, we don't have with the workers. So the rabbi asked me, what is the problem? I told him, forget about me and some others, but I'm employing 45 people with special needs. They are not religious, but this is the only reason they have to wake up in the morning. So please, let's find a way how we can keep them and to still give them the jobs and to become kosher. All of them are Jewish, and of course they are great. And he told me without any second of thinking, Roy, it's very easy. Fire those people and hire religious people, and you get the kosher certification. I was very mad because I thought he will think about it. He'll try to find a way to become kosher and still to employ those people. So I told him, I'm sorry, Mr. Rabbi, the meeting is over. This is the door. And from this point, I started kind of war. It's not a war, of course, but to fight against this decision. So I met many rabbis very in high position in Israel and abroad. Till the end, after 4 years, I reached to Harav Vosner, Rabbi Vosner. He was, I think, those days, the most important rabbi in Israel. And the Rav Vosner told us that in the Bible there is a sentence, Shotei Lem Cheresh, meaning people with disabilities, like the people that works for me, they don't need to keep Shabbat in order to become religious, so they can still work. So after 4 years, thanks God, we got the kosher certification. So since 2010, all Tulip wines are kosher. So we're all happy, and we're still employing the people with disabilities, which is, I think, not less important.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I suppose we'll move on to the second wine, and as questions come in, we'll stop after that one as well.
All right. So the second wine we are presenting to you today is our Tulip Cabernet Sauvignon. Again, we are drinking here the 2020 vintage. But anyway, it's the same blend, 2019 or 2018. So I think 2019 or 18 should be even more drinkable or more in the drinking window. It's basically 90% Cabernet Sauvignon, but we do add some 5% Carignan and 5% Viognier, which is a white variety, into the blend. The wine is was aged for 6 months in oak. The vineyards, all our Cabernet Sauvignon is coming from the Upper Galilee. Carignan is coming from the coastal plain, and the Viognier is coming from Jerusalem Mountains, or Judean Hills, as we call this region here in Israel. It's not a heavy or full-bodied Cabernet Sauvignon. It's light-bodied, very fruity, food-driven Cabernet Sauvignon, and the oak will accompany it really, really well.
We have also the Cab Reserve only in the States.
Yeah, in the States we have also, we have a Cab Reserve, which is a full-bodied Cabernet Sauvignon. You can also find it. Because in this series where we have the white tulip and we have the rosé and we have Cab and Merlot, it's fruit-driven series, all right? And this is the way the wines are built.
It's a Some people say it's a cab for the summer.
Yeah, it's a cab for the summer. You can chill it a little bit. It's really red and black fruits in the nose, really light or refreshing, I would say. Of course, some hints of smoke, chocolate in the nose, some spices, some pipel angli.
English people.
Yeah, some peppery nose, some herbs. I swallowed. I didn't taste. 7 in the morning here. It's a good time to drink. Anyway,
Somewhere it's nice.
Somewhere, yeah, for you it's better. As I said, light-bodied or medium-bodied Cabernet Sauvignon, very fruity, red fruits, some black fruits, some hints of a tobacco box in the mouth. A little bit astringent, but I think this astringency will fulfill the body of the wine in a few years. Today, it's giving it some freshness.
We have a question about the type of. We have a question about the type of oak you use.
Go for it.
Yeah, sorry. We have a question about the type of oak you use. Is it new? Is it used? Where you get it from?
French oak, and we try to use 25% new. So we change our barrels every 4 seasons. So meaning a barrel will hold here for 4 seasons. So we have quarter new oak in each wine that we have. Depends on the series, of course, but these are oak regime here, and French. We have some Hungarian oak, but this is very similar to French oak. It's Central European, same kind of wood.
Great, thanks.
You have any more questions about the wine?
Yeah, quick question about, in general, what's the process to decide on a new wine? If you want to add a wine to the catalog, let's say, what's that process? How do you say go for it? How much testing do you have to do?
All right, so this process comes from few directions. All right, we have what I want to do as a winemaker. All right, which is my passion and my creation. This is one way. The other way is Roy's creation and passion, because Roy is coming also from a wine family and he loves wine. So he has his ideas. So we go back and forth. And we have also what people that we work with think or want us to do. So this is also things that we need to consider. And of course, we need to take into considerations what the region allows us or enable us actually to produce here and to maintain the quality that we thrive for in all of our wines while doing the wines here in Israel. We need to remember that Israel is a warm climate region. Therefore, if I want to make a sparkling wine, I need to take that into consideration when I'm deciding of making a new wine or choosing a variety to make a wine. I need to take into consideration that also. So it's coming from all of directions. Then we have a discussion here in the crew. If we want to do it, if it's the right wine, then we try and we make an experiment for at least one vintage, and then we decide if we go to the market with that.
I'm the crazy guy ideas, and this is the fine quality ideas. So together, it's a good marriage.
Great. So you mentioned that basically after the Ottoman period, the vineyards were kind of destroyed or weren't there. So maybe describe to our audience the makeup of your vineyards and what the oldest vineyards that you do still have on the property are.
All right, so we have vineyards coming from the Northwest Vineyard in Israel is in our ownership, or it's in Kfar Yuval, right on next to Metula, on the border with Lebanon. So over there we have some Syrah. Most of our Cabernet Sauvignon will be in the Upper Galilee. Vineyards will go between we have Sauvignon Blanc. The Sauvignon Blanc from the white tulip is 40 years old. Sauvignon Blanc is also in the Upper Galilee. The Syrah that we work with is 20 years old. So most of the vineyards in Israel as a whole, well, the vineyards in Israel as a whole were planted at the end of the 19th century. I wasn't here, but still, this is where it was that's the point that they started planting new varieties. And most of the varieties came from France, or actually in that period, they came from India, because in Europe, there was a phylloxera plague in the vineyards, so they couldn't take any vines from Europe. But the varieties are European varieties, meaning Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Syrah, Sauvignon Blanc, Cab Franc, Carignan. But what we have today is most of our tulip vineyards will be in the Upper Galilee, about 2/3, and the rest will be in Jerusalem mountains.
And so how could you date them? How old would you say the oldest vineyards are that you use?
For us?
Yes.
40 years old.
Wow, that's great.
Plenty.
Now, we have another great question on a little bit of a different topic. And you mentioned that the climate is obviously a little unique, being in the Middle East and Israel. What type of irrigation, do you use any local technologies? You know, we all know drip irrigation is a famous Israeli invention. And how do you look at different ways of upkeeping the vineyard to make sure everything's growing properly, not using so much water? What are the things you use?
Of course, we're using drip irrigation. We have some vineyards that are not irrigated, but this is really scarce. And actually, what I prefer as a winemaker, that my vineyards will be irrigated. We have some technologies that follow the growth of the vine during the season, that sometimes I'll give the system to decide, or the computer or the algorithm to decide if the vine needs irrigation or not. It measures the daily growth of the vine during the season. This is the way the system can decide or understand if the vine is thirsty or not. But we have also vineyards that we know that they need to be irrigated, but it's all irrigated, of course. I think as an industry, we are going towards, of course, new technologies and new developments all the time. We have, I think, 3 different experiments held on in our vineyards in different regions, but different technologies about determining the amount of water and the quality that we want to go to by irrigating the vineyards.
Great, thank you. So I'd suggest let's move on to the final wine. We do have some other questions, and after that third wine, we'll wrap it up with a few more questions.
All right. I didn't open it, so let me open the wine. The third wine, we call it Tulip Espero. Espero is this is the wine, Tulip Espero. Espero is hope in Esperanto. You want to tell them? No. Go for it. All right. So Espero is in Esperanto is hope, hope for the village of hope. Esperanto, as you all or not probably know, was supposed to be an international language invented by a guy named Zamenhof. It didn't work out. It's not. But that was the idea, and we chose this. We just like the name, and I think it symbolizes our connection to this village. The Espero series. We have an Espero red and Espero white. So these 2 wines we'll taste only one today. It's a blend of 50% Syrah, 30% Cab Franc, and 20% Merlot, aged for 12 months in French oak, 225-liter barrels. I think it will go in the nose. It's kind of light-bodied Syrah, and the spiciness of the Cab Franc and the Merlot really supports the fruits, the purple fruits of the Syrah. Some plums, cherries. Again here, some chocolatey and black pepper. In the mouth, the wine is medium to full-bodied, with a lot of herbs, some green, red, and black flavors. Also, will accompany well a lot of also heavy dishes like barbecue and stuff like that, but also a standalone wine.
It's a very culinary, gastronomic wine.
Gastronomic wine, very gastronomic wine. The vineyards, as I mentioned before, the Syrah is coming from the Upper Galilee or the Northwest Vineyard in Israel in Kfar Yuval, and the Cab Franc and the Merlot are coming from Judean hills.
We didn't do cheers.
נכון.
So guys, cheers in America, cheers from Israel.
L'chaim.
Hope everybody in the world will be healthy after the COVID-19.
Here we are also already healthy in Israel. It's finished here.
Yes, we are okay. We're in a good position now.
Hopefully here in the United States, we'll be joining you in good health, but also we'll be joining you at Tulip Wineries very, very soon. Roey, I'm sure the idea of opening up a winery in Israel in the early days, you had to take care of all those details to make things happen. But in the back of your mind, your dream was to make it go big, sell it in Europe, sell it in America. So tell me about the process when you were finally able to start selling it abroad and what you do to make sure that people here in the United States have it. I saw something so fascinating. I'm originally from the East Coast, and I saw there was a legal seafoods menu matched with tulip wines, which to me was like two worlds colliding. So how do you do your outreach to ensure that people all over the world can taste the wine?
I'll tell you, look, Dan, when I started, I was 25. And it's a good, because when you're older and I have many businesses, all right, this is the first one. And now when I open a business, I'm going drilling down to the details and thinking about how to do this and that. When you're 25, you don't think too much. You like wine, you want to do your own business, you have your social vision, and then you go for it. So when I started, I didn't think, how can I penetrate to the American market or the European market? Yes, but I want to success and I want to become bigger, because I didn't want to stay only very, very tiny garage winery just to the area and friends and family, but I wanted to do it big. It's not big, but not garage. So I thought about exporting in the beginning when I was thinking about the name, because my family name is Yitzhaki, which is common to call in the winery to give it the name of your family. And Yitzhaki, to be honest, is a very bad name for a boutique winery from Israel. So I told my family, guys, please give me ideas for internationally brand. And my mother asked me, why do you need this internationally brand? I told her, actually, I don't know, but I think I want to have the wines not only in Israel, but also abroad. And then she brought the name Tulip, and you cannot argue with the Polish mother. So it's Tulip, which is great, because also we said in Japan and some other places, in new places, and everybody can pronounce tulip and everybody knows what is a tulip. So it's a good, nice flower in any language, so we're happy about it. But we have many, many dreams, and step by step, we make it come true, every dream that we have.
Great. So speaking of which, I've heard that there's a new label of Tulip wines. Is it called Mediterranean wines? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Actually, yes, we have another winery, another brand called Maya. Maya, it's initials of Mediterranean Approach Israeli Art. It's a winery that focusing only on Mediterranean variety, Mediterranean style wines. So the vision of David and I, from Maya, it was to create an identity for Israeli Mediterranean wine. Because till now, till Maya established, what we've done, all the wineries in Israel, we looked abroad. Oh, they're producing great Shiraz in Australia. Let's go there to learn how to produce great Shiraz. Oh, Bordeaux, they're producing great Cab Merlot, Cab Franc. Let's go there to understand how to produce great Cab. But we didn't have something that it's our own variety, our own style, our own identity. And Maya is the leader, is the pioneer, and to create the new revolution, which I call the identity revolution. So I hope my children or my grandchildren, when they have in America blind tasting in 50 years from now, some people will taste Maya and he will say, I don't know which wine is it, but it's definitely from Israel. This is my vision. I want people to recognize the identity of Israeli Mediterranean wine.
Great.
And it's our dream also.
So speaking of that, David, if you can, I know we only are going to get to go through specifically 3 wines, but maybe you can tell us just a little bit about the other wines you have there on the table.
All right, so you talked about Legal Seafood. So Legal Seafood holds our Syrah Reserve, I think for the last 6 or 7 years on their menu and in the glass. I don't know if all branches are only in Boston, but they love the Syrah Reserve. So we have Syrah Reserve, which is a Reserve series, which is like we have Tulip series, Espero series, and Syrah and Reserve series, which have Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cab Franc and Merlot blend, and the Sauvignon Blanc. I think in the States you have only the Syrah. They sell in the States only the Syrah and black. Yeah. And the Black Tulip, which is a flagship wine. It's a borderless blend, meaning it's 60% Cab, 25% Merlot, 10% Cab Franc, and 5% Petit Verdot.
We have a good story about the label.
You want to tell a story about the label?
Yeah.
All right.
The Black Tulip, actually, when I did social cooperation with the Village of Hope, I told my people that I don't want to talk about the social story outside from the winery, because I don't want people to buy the wines because the social story. I want people to buy the wines because they like the wines, because the price is okay with them. But when we did the first time our flagship wine, I told my marketing people that this wine I want to dedicate to the special needs or to help the community with this wine and to tell our story. So we did painting contest between 4 different social organizations in Israel. Ilan, which is handicapped people, Akim, which is mentally disabled people, Bet Ashanti, which is organization for kids from ruined families, and of course the Village of Hope. So for 1 year, we told them, please do your drawing and paintings if you can draw something regarding to wine or the Village of Hope. So we got more than 1,000 paintings very, very fast. Nothing connecting to wine, but anyhow, it was great picture drawing. So we did the competition. We had a quarter-final, semi-final, and final. And our clients choose I don't know if you can see the colorful bottle. It's this amazing, optimistic painting drawn by a Down syndrome guy named David Ashkenazi. And when we did the launching event, it was in Tel Aviv, very fancy launching event in very high building. We got like 200 audience clients and wine critics and journalists, and so we launched it. When David Ashkenazi came with his family, I invited also his family. he came to the hall of the event, and David starts crying. And I asked him, David, why are you crying? You're supposed to be happy. Look at the bottle. It's your painting. So he told me I'm crying because I'm exciting. I thought it's going to be on one bottle. And then he saw hundreds of bottles with his painting. So when I did my launching speech, I got, okay, I have 200 evidence. And I promise you, David, and you and everybody, as long as I'm in charge of what's happening in Tulip, this painting will be always on the Black Tulip. It was 2008, so 13 years later, we're celebrating Bar Mitzvah to the label, and I'm still keeping my word. As long as I'm in charge of what's happening here, the Black Tulip will be always with David painting. Of course, I bought the original painting from him, and he also has always VIP open door to visit us with his family and friends. So it was great event because it was the first time that we are almost the first social business in Israel. And when I'm saying social business, if you take an accounted hat and check Tulip Winery 100% as a business, you'll find a very, very successful business. Take your hat of the accountant and put the social worker hat, you'll find and check Tulip as a non-profit organization or charity organization, you'll find amazing, successful social organization. And what we did, we combined these two together, and it's in synergy. 1 + 1, it's 3, not 2. And when we did it with the Black Tulip, it was the first time that Israel heard about Tulip, in the newspaper. And then it was amazing, amazing. Many businessmen came to me, asked me how you did it, how you to do it. And now, thanks God, we are not the only social business in Israel, but we are the leading in this field.
And this Black Label wine is one of your top wines, correct? Top quality wines.
Yeah, it's the flagship. It's the top.
It's the top quality wine of the winery.
Great. David, are there others there that we haven't talked about on the table?
No, we don't have any more wines on the table. We have a few more wines. In total, in Tulip, we have 11 labels. And in Maya Winery, we have four labels. So in total,
great,
15 labels that we produce.
And Roe, have you thought to just sell the label? That's the amazing painting. Is it able to be purchased in your gift shop, or is it you have to get the wine? Only on the wine.
Also in the States, it's available. We did some, small posters and magnet to the refrigerator. And yes, we want to spread the word that if you do something good, it's good for everybody. It comes back to you. It's amazing.
Yeah, that really is incredible. We appreciate it, and we're almost at the end of our hour. For us here in LA, we're having our evening glass of wine. And again, once again, just want to thank you for waking up so early and bringing us this conversation so it can be live here. Here with our programs, we really value the ability to feel like we're connecting with our brothers and sisters in Israel, and doing it on a live chat is much more authentic, and it's much more engaging for us. So we really appreciate it. Maybe one final question for each of you to talk about in the roles you have in the winery and the community, to talk about the whole wine community in Israel. I've heard from folks to say, it's a small knit group, but of course it's growing. You have wineries now all over, small little country, lots of problems all around you, but maybe talk about from the winemaking and from the business side, how the community helps each other, the competition of it.
Go for it.
Me?
Look, the wine industry in Israel changing all the time. It's a new community. It's a new business in Israel. Even though we're producing wine in Israel for 6,000 years, quality wines we start to create and to produce in Israel in the last 2 decades, 3 decades. That's it. It's nothing when it comes to wine that you have one chance a year. So we did 30-time wines. So it's not a lot. I think the revolution is here. Meaning 10 years ago, very, very few people drank wine just for fun, not for religious purpose, all right? In the last 10, 15 years, more and more people drink wine as a social event, as a culture, all right, culinary culture. And now, and thanks to COVID-19, it's become fastest. Young people start to drink wine, all right? In the past, they drank vodka, they drank beer, they drank other things. But now young people in the age of 20, 25, their drink is a wine. So it's a big revolution for us, because till a year or two ago, we drank in Israel only 5 liters per capita, all right, a year. I mean, it's 7 bottles per person a year, which is almost nothing. In the States, it's more than 20, I think. In France and Italy and Spain, it's more than 50 liters per capita, and we are 5. So it's very, very little, but now it's growing up, and the young people give, it's a new wind that young people start drinking wine, and for us, it's amazing. It's a great opportunity, and I think the future looks pink.
Yeah, they drink a lot of pink this year.
But actually, it's a revolution. It's in the winemaking.
Yeah, I think so also, because the winemaking, first of all, it was very, very traditional, and we were looking to make good international wines. And I think in the last few years, we're trying to do something local, like Maya Winery, or like the wines that we do in Tulip. They're more innovative and trying to find the local angle to each wine. And I think this is coming from the wineries and also is supported from the people that do drink wine. I think the winery is full of people, 20, 25 years old. Now it's 7 o'clock in the morning, but 10 o'clock in the morning, the yard here of the winery is full, will be full of people ordering places in advance just to drink wine and have fun. Not in a very heavy, I think, heavy wine, sophisticated experience, but more as a cultural fun event, like going out to drink and to eat something and be with friends. And I think in general, what we experience as winemakers is a lot of cooperation and idea exchanges between the wineries and winemakers. It does help all the community to be better and more unique and more qualitative.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, certainly we can relate here in the West Coast with Santa Barbara, Napa Valley. It's become a very social thing over the last several decades, of course. So it's great to see that, young Israelis are appreciating the culture as well. And once again, hopefully we're crossing our fingers that we're all gonna be there very, very soon. I have a feeling it'll be sooner than later. So we'll do this all once again, but in person. Once again, Roe and David, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank the folks behind the scenes, Ezra and Ishai and the others that are there with the crew. Thank you for making this happen and pulling this off. And thank you to our guests for joining us late in the evening here in Los Angeles. We have recorded the session, so we'll put it online. We'll share with everybody. And we hope that we see everybody who's on with us at our future sessions. And finally, just another thank you to Tulip Wines. It's inspiring and it's amazing. And we so appreciate the time and being able to visit with you virtually.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Have a good day. Thank you. Cheers.